welcome everyone to this drop-in session. So today we'll have a look at the roles manager. We'll also talk briefly about Razzi and different approaches to capture systems. I will do a very short, traditionally, we do a very short demo. Don't hesitate to interrupt if you have a question. And then, yeah, I'm doing a 10-15 minutes demo maximum. And then we can talk as long as we want. I've got all my morning free. All right, so Skore methodology, just a quick recap. So basically, the way we recommend capturing processes is always to focus first on the actual work that is done, the activities. So describing the activities, I always like starting them with a verb and a noun to make it very active. And then the outputs in a passive tense usually also makes it like a nice story that shows the handover between one activity or the other. So when I map process, I'm always trying to first focus on the activities, what needs to be done to, in this case, to get my expenses ready for payment. And then comes the stage where we need to document all the roles and the responsibilities on the box. So in Skore, this is done below the activity name. The box asks the question, who does it? And this is where we can start capturing the role. So you may be in different cases where if it's a very informal process mapping session, you can you can capture the name because you don't want to think too much about the roles and how they are called really. But very quickly, it would be a very good benefit from analyzing really using the role manager if you are using a proper role name. So this may lead to interesting questions. What is the role of some people? And some people in workshops will be shy a bit to say they are director, head of something, manager, senior manager, or whatever. But it's quite good to capture the real role. So here, get the project code, for example, it will be the project manager doing it. So when I'm creating a role for the first time, I need to type it I need to type the full role name, but afterwards it will automatically be proposed and I can just click in my list. So it's very convenient and very quick to add the same role on different boxes. So who is this role? Usually, again, back to the methodology of Skore, we quite like mapping processes at a very high level first, and then drilling down into the details. So how do we capture these roles? The higher level, typically you want someone that owns the piece of work, but that is not necessarily involved in doing the actual work. So some people call it the really accountability level or ownership level, or this week in a workshop, we use the word pilot. So we say, this is a pilot. This is someone who makes sure that the work is done, but not necessarily someone that is involved. And then the deeper in the details you're getting into your process, the more closer you will be to the person actually doing the work. So high level process, try to identify the ownership level, the high person, maybe a board member, a director, or senior manager, making sure that the work is done. And then the more you drill down, the more you will have the people actually involved. Skore doesn't prevent you from adding many roles. So you can have as many roles as you want on a given box. But again, the more you will have roles, the less clarity you will have in your messaging, in your understanding of the process, and in trying to make a change happen. But sometimes there's a reason. You may have a company that is doing products for cats and products for dogs. And they have two different ways of working because of the nature of the business. And they have two owners for different business units. So, but usually I'm really steering people in a workshop to have one role agreed that is clearly showing the responsibility and the ownership of this activity. So this is about the role manager. So let's assign that to the same role so we can quickly already go into the role manager. So I'm switching to the role manager tab. And I see a couple of roles that were used previously. Let's click on the project manager that I have just used. And I can see immediately that this person is involved in 3 activities. So the 3 boxes I had on my process, and it already generates. So you see, this is live. I didn't do anything to generate this work list. And sometimes when you're mapping a big process, it's quite good to get there and see if the role makes sense. You know, if you see someone that is a director and its field is written like organized meeting, you know, it's probably, you probably have different levels of granularity. So it allows you to have like a quick review. Are the level of activities, the sort of granularity of activities making sense to create a good job description? It gives us also here basic information of handovers. So this person works by himself pretty much. But when we start enriching that, we will see other roles appearing as roles that are in the activity before and roles that are in the activity after. Why is this information interesting? The more people will work with other role, the more you will want to recruit someone that has the skills and or let's say the soft skills of working with other people. So this may be a very interesting information, insights to get. All right, this person needs to coordinate with 10 different roles. So you know that's someone that is okay in the org chart in the marketing department, but they need to work with product development, they need to work with operations, they need to work with procurement. So it also again gives you insights on the kind of profiles that you will want to look for. Here in my very dummy case here, I have a project manager that works only with other project managers. I can find a file that suits that. If I need to rename a role, this is also the place where I can do it. So I can, I don't know, I'm just making it up, senior project manager. When I rename here, it will not instantly, but it will rename back on my process. If I come back, or I could reload the page. Yeah. So that's for the very basic usage of the role. Now we see here that I have a responsibility matrix, and some of you may be familiar with RACI. This is the one I picked as a starting point because this is the most popular. And Skore also supports a couple of other ones like RACI and Rapid. So I'm going to switch to RACI for now. So they are all different responsibility metrics. So what are the goal of these responsibility metrics? Sometimes it's convenient to show many roles on an activity. So as I said earlier, I discourage doing that, but sometimes it's quite good to say, all right, my senior manager is getting the project codes, but the finance admin can help me. And also more often than not, the I don't know, assistant is involved because she needs to raise a purchase order or whatever. So now I have 3 roles, but again, for the clarity, who owns this piece of work, who just takes part, who is used as a support, and this is where RACI or RACI or these notations are coming in handy. So I like RACI because it's I will explain what they mean, and I will explain why I find it superior to RACI. So it's responsible, authority, tasks, support, and informed. So the responsible will be the person that is making sure that this work takes place, that the work is done, maybe not involved on the day-to-day basis, but making sure that this happens at the end of the day. The T will be tasks, S for support, and I for informed. So maybe the finance admin is for support, and assistant needs to be informed. So now I can have a nice differentiation between the roles. So I have many roles on my box, but I also see that they have different levels of involvement. Actually, in this case, the senior project manager is responsible, but also has a task. So we can assign different tags or different roles, responsibilities to a same role. The reason I like the RACI where the A means authority, the RACI where the A means authority, is that we can say in some scenarios, we have someone that owns this project code, maybe validates them or review them. So we have I don't know, a project office, a PMO director, project office director, and this person may have the authority, like the overall decision, life or death decision power on on this role. So we can really create a very good landscape of each activity, understanding who has the final authority on that, who needs to make sure that it happens, who is involved in the actual work, and who supports and who's informed. The A stands for authority. In RACI, traditionally, the A stands for accountability. And I find that very often discussing the difference between responsible and accountable raises more questions than it actually solves. And the other problem that I face, so you heard my accent, I'm not a native English speaker, and there's not many languages where you have a very good translation for the word accountability. So in Spanish, French, German, Italian, you don't really have a translation for accountability. If you look in the dictionary, they will translate that to responsible. So again, trying to involve international people maybe tells a lot about the culture, I don't know. But trying to involve people on defining accountable when it's not something, a sort of a concept that they grasp very really easily, it's very hard. So I like RACI because it's really authority. It's the same word in French, autorité, and Spanish, Italian. So yeah, authority, I find it easier worldwide than accountability. So now I can capture these things. So the scanning the receipt, maybe I have, I have my assistants that can support me and submit it will be the finance admin that actually I'm responsible for submitting the report, but it's the finance admin person who will do that. So now when I switch back to my role manager, let's go to my senior project manager now. I can also see the different tags that this person has been assigned. We have a little summary of how many R's, how many T's, how many A's, etc. They have. So again, this gives me insights on the level of seniority. If you see a role with a lot of A's, you see, all right, this is someone that has authority on a lot of topics, right? So you want someone that makes decision that can seek, consensus and that has this authority, legitimacy to make decisions. Someone with a lot of R will usually maybe lead a lot of projects, and someone with a lot of T will actually be someone doing them. So it's always interesting insights to get into seeing how the people are involved. Gives you information on the type of profiles you're looking for, and yeah, insights. I mean, the whole point of Skore is to give you insight that helps you making decisions. So now that I have captured a bit more information in my process, I see also my role description here has been documented. So I have my responsibility tags. I also have the collaborators. So collaborators are giving me the name of the roles that are involved on the same boxes that I am. So I'm still in the project manager. So the project manager, she works with the finance admin, the assistant, and the project office director. Again, and the handovers. The handovers, I will come back to that. Why don't we have a bigger list? Again, gives me insights on what kind of role it is. What if I need to change them? If I'm changing a system that this project manager is using, who it may also impact, all right? Because if the project manager is using super project management, he's working with the finance admin, the assistant, and the project office director, we may need to train them as well on a new system, or at least let them know that the system has changed. And for the handover, we made the decision to only display only calculate handovers on the first roll of a box. So here, the senior project manager to senior project manager to senior project manager. This is how the handovers are calculated. Otherwise, the list was getting out of control very, very quickly. Yeah. What else? So insights. Yeah, and then here I have the insights tab that again helps me, brings clarity, brings visibility. See who are the roles the most involved into a given process. And obviously, a process with 3 boxes, it's quite lightweight. But when you're mapping a much bigger process, it can become very interesting to find outliers. both in the most used role and the least used role. So we decided to really display these two processes, these two charts with 4 roles. Obviously, they sort of mirror each other, but when you have much more role, it can become very interesting to find outliers in both things. See, all right, actually, this person, I was really expecting the project office director to be much more involved. You know, why is he at the bottom or the top of the least used role list? Or funny that this finance admin is so much involved in a process where they shouldn't be. So it can give you all sorts of insights and findings that can generate conversation. It can help you better understand your process and probably better lead your change project. Then also when it comes to organizational design and creating new role descriptions, you can use these little charts here to see how well balanced is your process. Does a role make sense? You know, if you have a role that only support everywhere, that they only have S's of the RATC everywhere, it could be quite interesting. It's a very consultative role. They will probably have a list of collaborators, which is huge. So you need someone that is not involved in a project in particular, but may be involved all over the place advising people. Where if you have someone with only A's, that would be someone that needs to have an overview of everything going on to make decisions to help unblock situations. So this is the role manager in Skore. One last short thing is very often we come up with the question, how do we capture systems? And we quite like twisting a little bit the role manager to capture systems. So let's say the get the project code is done in super project management. So we can do super project management app. So we can capture the system directly here. The benefit here is that it's very visible. It's directly on the process map. And what I quite like doing is using an icon. So it seems that when I see people sharing their screen, they use the gears icon, seems to be the de facto standard. So I just type gears here, I clicked on the icon, it will copy a short code. What is a short code is something I can paste pretty much anywhere in Skore. I paste it and you see it's exclamation mark icon 2x, it will make it a bit bigger. And the gears icon, when I click outside, it shows this icon. So this is a sort of a de facto convention in Skore. I see a lot of people doing that, highlighting that it's actually a system and not a role. Doing that comes with benefits. Usually you put the system at the bottom of the list by convention. You could also decide to put it at the top, doesn't matter. Consistency is key. And then I see my role, so I see it here. I see it here and I see the collaborators of this system. So I see who are all the roles that are actually using this system. So it can be, if you know you're gonna change the system or made an upgrade, again, a very quick and convenient way of seeing who will be impacted. So yeah, using the role manager for systems is very convenient. And I see, because I first created the super project management app role and then I renamed it with the little icon, it created twice. So I can use, again here to remove the role and keep my role manager list very clean. All right, happy to take some questions, comments, remarks related to role or not really.
Thank you, Colin. Any questions?
I have a question. Yes, please. It may not be related to role. I'm kind of shoehorning it in there. It was something that came up this week with one of my users. We're a regulator and we don't produce physical anything. We don't produce widgets or clothes or anything, but we do produce decisions. So that's our product. And one of the things that they like to have on their processes is where key decisions are made. I'm not so sure it's a role here, whether we need it as something else, but something that's really visible to show that there's a regulatory decision, say, being made here, rather than just I'll choose that template rather than that template. It's something, a significant decision. I don't know whether there's anything like that has come up elsewhere.
So I'd say two ways. really clearly identifying who owns the decision. So putting an A if you're using a RACI or RATC, or putting an icon maybe next to the person. So and this is why I like the RATC with the A. Who has the authority to approve this thing ultimately? Whatever the conversations are, even when we did, I did processes where we had a board. So it was like prioritized portfolio was the scenario, prioritized portfolio, and they had a portfolio board, portfolio management portfolio board. So this is a group of people. There's the product director, marketing director, and lots of people in there. But then we had a very interesting discussion saying who heads this project, that portfolio director, and then it led to very interesting conversation to finally agree that this is it was the group marketing, to take the real example. The group marketing director was the person having the authority on this thing. So we like consensus, we like making decisions as a group, but ultimately the group marketing director is the one who owns this portfolio and its prioritization. The other thing I was preparing here on the left is we have an icon that I quite use a lot for decisions, the gavel. So I clicked on the icon to copy the short code. I will paste it. I just put 2-line returns so that it will show nicely. And then you can highlight, all right, here there is a decision. A decision has been made. So you can look in the list of icons. Maybe there's others that are a bit more relevant to your context. But it could be, and you could give icons a color also. So you can highlight and make these boxes very visual.
Thank you.
I guess another way of doing it, which I've used in the past, is to actually change the color of the box, for example.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
I think we come. Oh, go on.
Yeah. So if I select a box and I go to style, box style, so just to change the box of the selected style of the selected boxes, there's all sorts of settings. So let's look at the border. We can make the border a little bit thicker and maybe sort of an orange-ish thing. Again, it makes the box stand out.
Yeah.
I think we did one in I think it was a previous drop-in session where we looked at style rules. So you could say, for example, attach a custom field to the box where you've got one of these key decisions being made, and you call it key decision or whatever, and then the rule would then trigger the color of the box to change, or the style of the box to change. And what's quite nice about that is not only is it kind of because it means that you're consistently applying that every time you set this is a key decision step, it sets that color. The other nice thing is you can then report on it, because you could do a report on show me everywhere where there's a key decision.
Yeah, that's handy.
Yeah, another thing we did in a project with this, where the decision steps were very important, is that we really made them stand out, so like that visually, and also we separated the preparation to make the decision, like seeking consensus and propose portfolio prioritization. So to really highlight that there was a first phase of proposal that was made, and then there was a hard decision made at some point. So also making the activity stand out visually and also in its.
Thank you. Can I ask another question?
Of course.
At the risk of hogging the floor. Am I right in saying we're looking at sharing roles across processes at some point as well? Because at the moment they are specific to a process.
Yeah, you're right. So something we are working on is that, so the role manager is indeed specific per process today. The idea is that when I'm typing a role, it will put it in a central database. And then when I'm starting a new process and I'm starting typing roles, it will just suggest roles that have been used previously. And beyond that, also the reporting. I think what I'm really looking forward to is having reporting at the workspace level, give me all the tasks where the finance admin is involved, and I don't really care which process it is. I just want to have a complete picture of this role. So indeed, this is coming up.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
I was just going to go back to the roles thing when you were going through, Colin. One of the things that I found this really powerful for the whether it's RACI or RATSI that we're using against the roles is when you were in the role tab and showing all the different sort of views that we start to turn on as a result of putting RACI or RATSI against your boxes. Found this incredibly powerful when you're doing any sort of organizational design. So if you're making quite a significant change to the way something works, or way a process works, or whatever, you can really use this to really start to work out, do we have the right people in the right positions, and do they have the right skills? And I mean, Colin touched on it a few times. Is like when you look at the list of activities and you can see the different types of responsibility tag against them. So if you've got Colin mentioned, if you've got all A's, for example, that's probably going to be somebody quite senior. All R's is also probably going to be fairly senior, and then T's you're kind of moving down a bit. So it really helps you think about how the organizational chart might go together. And one of the things we found is when you're doing that sort of work, it's often it can be easy to fall into the habit of going, well, these people are in these positions now, so we'll kind of make the process fit them. And actually what we found much better is if you think about what is it we're trying to achieve as an organization, what's the work we do to get there, and then you lay the roles on, say, who do we think does them. When you come in here and say, look at the insights tab with the graphs, and Colin again mentioned about the outliers, you'll often see somebody on there going, like, how somebody will have all responsibilities, and you go, how can one person have that much, that level of responsibility, or how could they do that much work, and so on. So it really helps you make those decisions about the names of roles, the job descriptions, the skills and expertise that someone might need, and where they would sit within the organizational hierarchy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The key to a healthy discussion on roles is to not have it at the same time as describing the actual work.
Yeah, it's something I hadn't really thought about before, but using this tool for our business change colleagues to maybe look at how we've moved from the as-is to the to-be, and how the roles have changed over that time, to help them with their change management and business readiness activities.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to drop off, and I'm going to leave you in Colin's capable hands. Very nice to see you all. Have a lovely weekend.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you. Bye.
Anything else we'd like? Any questions related or not to role systems, RACI, RATSI, or anything else in Skore? I am happy to answer any questions, talk about anything.
Yeah, I've got a few questions, but it's possibly because it's very specific about our product.
Well, let's go ahead.
It might be worth taking it offline. Is there anything, Colin? It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk later today. Would you want? Yeah.
Yeah, directly after this would be good.
Yeah. I can stay. I can stay online.
Like Craig, I'm going to have to head off, I'm afraid. But thanks very much, Colin. Really enjoyed that.
Thanks, Stuart.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Because I've actually been using this fairly similarly to what you have.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to show you what we've done and why we've got a slightly different one. I'm trying to think if I can if we can get a definition that I can use yours rather than ours, because then.
So you've been using the responsibility matrix, the RACI?
No, we've got something called Archie.
Archie. Yeah, true. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah. But similar. I think trying to sort of RACI is a bit too generic. I find it's too confusing.
And I mean, this comes from years ago, where we defined exactly what people's involvement was with each task. And it becomes very important to say, well, you must involve this person. this is the person responsible.
Yep.
So it's mandatory, or you have the right to go to this person and get help.
Yeah.
Get information, get whatever it is. And we
Yeah.
found that was important, because you would find that when you were mapping processes, that so then we go and talk to this person in materials, you know. But when you go and talk to them, they go, well, that's just, I'm being nice. It's not part of my job. And when it gets too difficult, you know, I'm busy, I ignore them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is the start of the end in organization design, kind of things.
Yeah.
And because that means people are doing things out of process. And I don't want to sound too dogmatic about doing things out of process, but at some point you need to understand how your organization works.
Absolutely.
And if you realize that it actually relies on something good, someone's goodwill, and you realize that actually if they were not involved, it would go wrong quite badly. This is really the situation that organization design is made to avoid, right? You want a process to be able to run almost autonomously how it's documented. If you realize by doing interviews and stuff, oh yeah, we asked Steve to help us there, and what if you don't do it? Yeah, if we don't do it, basically later down we need to do this rework. All right, so it seems to be quite quite important.
Yes, exactly. And so we formalized it. We said, so we used to go to their manager and say, you are involved in this process. And if they say they're not, then we would just escalate it up the management chain, saying that they must be, because it doesn't work without it. And or is there another way we can get this information, or whatever it is? It's usually advice. Or, you know,
absolutely. And this is where this notation, Racy and Archie and the ones, they are very powerful. It's you alluded to that. I will repeat it for people that are still listening into the defining your own. I mean, I find RACI clearer than Racy, but it still needs to be defined in your organization. So have a PowerPoint slide or wiki page or something ready for that you can easily pull when someone wants a very, very clear-cut decision of the differences between an A and an R and a T and an S and an H and whatever.
We have a key on every map that we do. So if you go to our, if you go, well, I'll show you if we do this on our own, but we actually have a key. So we say what each one means. And
yeah. So you created a little note slide. Oops,
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's I quite like it. I've never done it on every single, but the organization where I used RACI the most to show, it really got sticky, and actually RACI became part of the company vocabulary. They were saying, oh, we need to define the RACI for that. Even if they were not talking about processes, they would say we need to define a RACI for that, for a project or for something. And this is where you see that it was really solving a problem in the organization between who do we involve, to which level, what's the expectations. And again, I think you highlighted bringing that to the manager. So I've been nominated as providing support for this project, and make it a bit more transparent and official.
Well, that's right, because it can be disruptive, but that means that it's not that you don't do it, but you make allowances for that for your people, because if they're being disrupted, it takes time.
It takes time. It takes time, and it can create other situations down the line. If this person has been involved early on in the project, you have the expectations that they will be involved in all the projects. And something that became like a 5 minutes help at the beginning becomes a 2 days invitation to a workshop on the other side of the world where they need to travel for a week for something in the first place they were just helping. I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, it's just that we were very keen. We always did put, what we say, we used the Archie thing. We always put anybody who's involved with a task, which is one of your boxes. That's how we do it. It was called out. There were a resource. That's the other thing we put in is like you've put super project management app. We put all the resources down. It's a bit like IDEF0. So we put all the resources there, and so that people are aware of what is being used. And as you say, with your system, you actually get a good report and visibility of what is being used.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yeah, so if you want to cover some very specific cases for your, I'm happy to have a call this morning, later today, when you want.
I've got another call at 11, which will last an hour.
Just send me an email. I'm free for the rest of the day. It's one of these lucky days. So just email me when you want.
Well, in fact, if when we finish this, we did it, then we would be fresh in our minds if you want to do it when the call finishes.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. All right, if there's no other questions.
Colin, just real quickly, can you just show them how to switch your AC on if you haven't got, because it's per process, isn't it?
True, yeah, I went really quick over that. So that was in the settings responsibility model window. So again, I'm doing it. Settings responsibility model.
And it's per process, unless it's on your template. So,
it's per process unless it's part of the template.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Sue.
Easy when you know how.
Yeah, easy when you know how, exactly.
That's brilliant. I mean, roles and responsibilities is a huge topic, and it's fascinating. I had a call this week with someone taking out a Skore trial, and they had a massive long list of everything they wanted to achieve and couldn't get their head around it. They're asking, do I use roles? They wanted to look at systems and departments, and she was almost looking for too much complexity. And it's the old classic sort of thing. It would have taken us 5-10 emails, but actually just jumped on a quick Zoom and laid out the basics. And as soon as we sort of went to the roles tab, it's like, that's it. And you're like, okay, I get it now. It's hugely powerful in terms of its simplicity, and it's great. And in my opinion as well on the roles and stuff, don't go for perfection. There's a guide. There's recommendations, but if you only put a team on there, or if you end up with 5 people, or if you can't think of that one, leave it blank. Leave it like that, because it's telling you something about that process, and then you can work out how to improve it.
No, you're absolutely right. Leaving it blank is an information by itself.
And anyone who's been in one of my workshops will hear me say, because I do repeat myself an awful lot, is I'd rather put the wrong resource on there than leave it blank, because then that wrong resource is going to tell you who the right one is. Whereas if you leave it blank, often it stays blank. But anyway, it's just it's good fun.
I read this guy was saying once, if you want to understand something on the internet, don't ask an open question, just say something wrong. Say something wrong and people will come to correct you, rather than if you ask a question, you will have like everyone giving their opinion. So sometimes all right, I like blue cars. No, yellow cars are much better because of that. And people will argue to try to convince you, which would be much more valuable than asking what's the best color for a car.
Yeah, exactly. Blue cars are faster. You'll get a lot more out of it.
Yeah, exactly. We should do that as an experiment. All right. Thank you, everyone.